second half of Chapter 18 deals with air pollution, the effects of air pollution on us, and then also solutions. So I told you we talk about solutions. So indoor air pollution, as mentioned at the beginning of the chapter, it's very problematic in developing countries. This is mostly due to the fact that a lot of times for cooking and for heat, people are burning wood, charcoal, coal, etc. in open fires inside their houses or in really poorly vented areas. So that results in really high particulate matter levels. Imagine you have a fireplace and you're burning wood in there and something's happening with your chimney. So rather than all of that going up the chimney like it's supposed to, it comes out into your living room. Okay, and you can imagine that happening on a daily basis. That would be really problematic. So indoor air pollution is a very serious problem for two reasons. The pollutants can be more concentrated inside versus outside, and also people spend most of their time inside. So that can be even more problematic. We have another one of those nice, all the ways your house could potentially poison you diagrams here on page 482. There are a lot of air pollutants listed in this diagram. Some of the ones that I've identified that I think are the most important for you to be familiar with: cigarette smoke, which you are familiar with from health class and just life in general; radon, which is naturally occurring and could be found in your basement. Hopefully not. You can always get a radon detection kit to find out. Asbestos, which you probably have heard of before, especially in a lot of our older buildings here in New England. Carbon monoxide, which we've talked about. Particulates, mold, mildew, which some of you may have allergies to mold and mildew. And then formaldehyde is another one, which can be found in, furniture, mattresses, all sorts of crazy stuff. And then lots of chemicals, as we can see here, but I don't think it's essential that you remember all of those chemicals. Okay, so there's a nice case study on radon. If you ever buy a new house, one of the things you're supposed to do is check for radon. 18.5 deals with health effects of air pollution. So for those of you who like biology, this is where you get to kind of think about your respiratory system again. It's really important to keep in mind that a lot of air pollutants don't cause respiratory problems, but they can really aggravate respiratory problems, like asthma. Okay, so if someone's asthmatic and then there's air pollution, that can be really aggravated. They can have worse or severe, more often. They could have asthma attacks. But air pollution can sometimes lead to new issues like bronchitis and emphysema. And we've got some updated statistics from the textbook. So the World Health Organization in 2012 estimated that there were about 7 million deaths from air pollution. Those are mostly in Southeast Asia and Western Pacific regions. And of those 7 million deaths, in those regions, over 3 million were a result of indoor air pollution and over 2 million were a result of outdoor air pollution. And then there's some other kind of scary statistics here as well. And then figure 1822 shows us air pollution deaths in the United States. So even though we usually think of our air pollution or our air quality here as being pretty good, we can see that we have 5 to 10 deaths per 100,000 adults due to air pollution here in New England. And then the last part of Chapter 18, yay, solutions. How do we deal with air pollution? So there's the Clean Air Act, one of those good ones to have in your back pocket. The Clean Air Act includes criteria air pollutants. And basically what it says is that you have to have set standards to protect health primarily, and then secondarily also environment and property damage. So the criteria air pollutants are carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, suspended particulate matter, ozone, and lead. Okay. Additionally, as part of the Clean Air Act of 1990 is the Toxic Release Inventory. And this basically requires a lot of the things that release air pollutants, refineries, power plants, chemical manufacturing, factories. They have to report the release of toxic chemicals or waste management plans, including hazardous air pollutants. And you can find that information online. Okay. The book goes in to suggest some ways that air pollution laws could be improved. Then we have cap and trade. Cap and trade was very effectively used as part of the 1990 Clean Air Act to reduce sulfur dioxide emissions using a market-based approach. So this helped to reduce acid precipitation. So basically how cap and trade works is you have three companies, A, B, and C. Company A and each company gets a certain allotment, if you will, of how much sulfur dioxide they can release. And if company A ends up, maybe they use some money to upgrade their system, so they release less sulfur dioxide, they're below their cap, so they can trade their credits to company B, which maybe hasn't spent the money yet to improve their system, so they're going to release a little bit more sulfur dioxide, right? So that's the cap part and the trade part. But then the key part about cap and trade, and they get to sell it, right? So company A put the money in, but then they get to sell their credits for some money from company B. The key part of cap and trade program to be effective is you must lower the cap over time so that eventually air pollution levels decrease. So this has been pretty effective with sulfur dioxide emissions and helping to work on solving the acid precipitation problem. There are also, figure 18, 23, and 24 have some nice examples of ways to prevent or reduce or dispose of or clean up both stationary source air pollution, so things like factories, and motor vehicle air pollution. Okay. Some of them kind of always like walk, and others like emissions control devices. You might keep in mind that, like, was it Volkswagen that had issues with their diesel cars and they were kind of cheating the system? That's not cool. That's one of the reasons your car has to be inspected every year. Okay. And then the last page, those are the last two pages, has some solutions for indoor air pollution. Okay. Other really good ideas. And then on page 489, there are things you can do at home, which is really nice, right? Right up here. What can you do? Indoor air pollution. When you think about how much time you spend in your house, it's nice to think about breathing in clean air. And I, for one, will say, you guys are really lucky because you didn't have to be in the old high school, but this new high school, the air quality is definitely much better than our old building. So be thankful for that.